Before we get started with the podcast, Talk Music Talk has an app. That's right. It is free for iPhone and Android. With the app, you get every single episode of Talk Music Talk. That means the back catalog, plus new shows automatically appearing in your feed. With the app, you can download shows for offline listening. Plus, you can star your favorite episodes. You can also share episodes on social media or email them directly through the app to friends and family and loved ones. The app is available in iTunes and the Google Play Store. It is free. Just search for Talk Music Talk. Once you download the app, please leave a rating and or review in the store to help spread the word and get people talking about Talk Music Talk. And now for today's episode. Hey there, how are you? This is Boyce, your podcasting host. This is Talk Music Talk, episode number 98. First time listener, or maybe you just forgot, that's okay. But Talk Music Talk is a weekly music interview podcast where I, Boyce, have long-form discussions with people who are connected to music in some way. Music therapists, music journalists, singers, and songwriters. And on episode number 98, Matt Kanelos. Matt is a singer, a songwriter, a multi-instrumentalist, equal parts jazz and classical music involved in what he does. Also very smart pop, like in that 70s tradition, that Randy Newman era type thing. I partially interviewed Matt on episode number 45 with Carol Lipnik. Carol Lipnik is a wonderful cabaret artist here in New York, and Matt accompanies her on piano. And he came along and they performed on the show, did a very mini interview with him. But this episode is all about Matt, all things Matt. He is a great musician in his own right. He has a new project. It is called Violence, which includes an EP, which is a very generous 55-minute EP and a short film, 35-minute short film. We talk about the EP and the film, the concept behind them, the views, his perspective on violence in general, the process of putting the album together, and songwriting. Matt comes from a background of studying both jazz and classical music. We talked about how the two styles have shaped what he does today. Initially, he composed only instrumental music, started adding vocals. We talk about what that has done to his music, and we bonded over being nice guys. There is that. We talk about that. After the conversation, you're going to hear two tracks from Violence, Nonviolent Man, which we talk about in the interview, and also my favorite song from it, God is a Guy. Absolutely love the song. Great EP, Violence. Here it is, episode number 98 with Matt Kanelos on Talk Music Talk. Enjoy. You've got the album, Violence. Mm-hmm. The 35-minute video, Violence. How did the concept, what is the concept for the album, the video? How did that come along?
Well, I guess I was writing some songs and I hadn't really started recording anything properly. Mm-hmm. And I was just writing songs and recording demos. And around the time, I was also I had just gotten a Mac, so I was experimenting with the iMovie. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so I was just kind of having fun at first, just kind of editing together footage and taking some video with my iPod. Mm-hmm. And then at some point, I just took one of these demo recordings that I made and edited a video for this song, even though the song wasn't recorded properly yet. And I kind of liked how it all looked and sounded. It felt like I was satisfied with it as a thing just in and of itself. Yeah. And so I just set that aside, and then I did another one, and then another one, and they started to become kind of loose. Like one of the videos was the audio was actually taken from a live performance
At the cocktail.
Yeah,
jazz.
that one.
Was it cocktail jazz? Okay.
Yeah, and actually 2 of them. Three of them on the album were taken from live performances. But so anyway, these videos were, and these songs and videos, and some of the live performance wasn't even composed songs. Some of it was sort of improvised stuff, like the cocktail jazz one. That's kind of it's an improvisation, and then there's a song that's kind of improvised, where there were some words in a notebook, and I was just reading some of the lines that I felt like singing as we were playing, and then it was loose, and I kind of like how it turned out, and then I made a video for that. So then I set that aside, and then I was just kind of accumulating these videos that I wasn't really making for any serious purpose. And I wasn't really thinking I was working on a new record either. But then I realized that I kind of like this music together, and I kind of like these videos together, and so I just kind of started recording some things properly. There were a couple songs that I made videos for where I didn't think the audio was going to cut it for an album recording. So then I re-recorded a couple songs just because I wanted to get better recordings of those particular songs. It was more important for me, to me, to get those songs recorded. So I just did it. And then so I was kind of doing all these things, and it was a little bit kind of fragmented and didn't seem to have that much focus. And I wasn't trying to do anything in particular. I was just kind of messing around with some stuff and with making video and improvising, writing some songs too, but just kind of a mix of stuff. And then I realized I had accumulated something that I kind of felt like it all seemed to be coming out of from this, well, it's all coming from the same person. Yeah. So it's from around the same time. Well. Yeah. And I was just sort of processing some things, some thought, some feelings and some ideas. And so the violence theme sort of emerged from all of that. I didn't really set out to make an album called Violence, but I just kind of, there's more than just that, in the music and the movie. That's not the only theme, but I felt like it's sort of central. So
violence is the thread, or at least one of the threads.
I think it's one of them, and I guess choosing that as the title draws attention to it, and that's kind of what I want to do. Now that I'm looking at everything, I'm like, well, you can sort of focus on one thing or another thing, and I feel like pulling violence forward it just feels right for me with this stuff. It seems like that's an important one.
What were you
to pull forward?
Kind of saying? What were you saying about violence, or what violence is, or means to you?
I think it's sort of well, I think that I've been, I think like most people, violence is a negative thing. It's and it's something that I've tried to not be, to not be violent, and and then there's violence. There is violence, but I would think of myself as not a violent person. And, and the people that I know generally, I would think, well, there are people who are there's violence and there are people who are violent, and then there's the people who aren't, or there's just, it's like, where does violence exist? And I think I used to have that idea that I wasn't violent. That was part of my identity, is just that I'm a nice guy, or, and I think I started to get into some trouble with that idea about myself, just that I don't, I think at some point I found myself just committing some pretty horrible acts of violence, like not physically, but you know, just inadvertently, but kind of unconsciously. And it occurred to me as I was just going through these experiences, you know, losing some friendships, you know, reflecting on things in my family, just kind of, you know, I was just kind of like sorting through some different stuff that's internal stuff, and then also kind of, you know, it gives me new eyes to look at external violence that I've always noticed, that there's external violence, you know, outside of me. Yeah. But to sort of own the violence that's inside of me, I think has been an important step for me in my just growth as a person. So, and I think that, you know, ultimately still I don't want to be violent. And I think, you know, it's like to try and get a handle on anything, you have to know it's there. So I think understanding that you know, I have aggression, or I have my own needs, or you know, whatever, and they're not. So sometimes it's going to be inconvenient for someone else, or I'm going to hurt somebody. Yeah, and you know, it's like just something to kind of look at. I think it's important to look at violence as an internal reality rather than an external reality. You know, it's I think it's in everyone. And, well, it's in me. You know, I should say, I'll go that far.
I think it's in everyone.
Yeah, you know, I think so, but I know it's in me. Yeah. You know,
and whether we act on it or not, or to what degree.
Yeah. I mean, right. Whether you act, you know, it's like,
because we all have these shadow selves. And definitely. When it could come out, or push, or feel pushed, that we expose that.
Yeah. And I think, you know, a lot of what we do in the business of living with each other is hiding the shadow selves, you know. And so I think sometimes we're hiding it from ourselves. So yeah, and maybe that's fine. You know, maybe that's normal. I mean, most people are doing that, but for me, at some point, it became problematic. I think that I was, you know, really working to hide this thing that I think I needed to kind of accept. Otherwise, it was going to become a big drag, you know. So I think, you know, I don't know, but so yeah. So the theme is that's sort of you know, it's not an album, but it's not about, you know, violence in the world. And what are we going to do about the violence in the world? It's not like that. It's like it's more about you know, just
inner turmoil.
Well, yeah, or just well, I don't actually know entirely what it's about, you know, but you know, I kind of hit on that violence idea, and so that became the title. Okay. You know, I haven't figured out everything.
But you got a track on there that's Nonviolent Man.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. And that's actually, I think that helped kind of focus. That helped kind of like pull the idea out. There's that one song called Nonviolent Man, and you know, and it's like the idea of a nonviolent man. I think it's sometimes when I'm singing that song, I feel like it's sarcastic. You know, it's like the question: is it in you to love a nonviolent man? You know, and that keeps happening over and over, and. You know, it's like I kind of think that in a way, it's not. I don't think a nonviolent man gets loved. You know, in a way, like it's. Yeah, I don't. There's this feeling like I don't even know if there is a nonviolent man. You know, and I think that if you want to get love, you better show that you've you better ask for it, or you better demand it, or you better I don't know, you just have to kind of I don't know, I don't have it figured out, but yeah, that song is sort of I think it's a little bit ironic, I guess, maybe, I don't know.
So does it take on a different turn when I partially interviewed you for Carol Lipnik, the interview I did with her? She performed it.
Yeah, she performs that song, and I like when she sings it. It's really different coming from her. yeah, I think that's actually been interesting for me to hear someone else sing the song, you know, and she's really made it her own. She's singing it from the perspective of a woman, you know, which is interesting. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I guess I feel like Carol, she sings it in a way that seems a little bit, when she sings it, she seems like she's got a little bit of, and to me, it seems like she sings it in a part of her vocal range it's kind of lower, and it seems a little easier for her. For me, it's actually, we sing it in the same key, or she just sings it in the key I sing it in. So when I sing it, it's like high for me. So I feel like I'm kind of reaching when I'm singing it, and it's got a different kind of tension. When she sings, it's almost like a bit more, it's very emotional, but she seems kind of like she's observing something. You know, it's a bit more, like, I don't know, not as subjective feeling. Yeah. It feels like she's singing about a bigger thing or something.
Because it's kind of like when you're singing it, you're talking about yourself.
Yeah, someone. Exactly.
The assumption is that.
Right. It really feels like, oh, there's a guy, he's saying the word me, he's singing this song, you know, me, do you, whatever, you and me, whatever. And when she's singing it, she's a woman, so then it's a step back. And so that makes it, you know, it's different. Yeah. Yeah.
So what is usually your process for writing songs? Like sitting at a keyboard or piano?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think since I've started writing songs, which
how long's that been?
Maybe about 12 years now or so, which is relatively late. You know, I was doing music a lot for a long time without singing or writing songs, and then when I was in my mid to late 20s, I started writing songs and singing. And I think that right from the start of that, I think I had this idea that I didn't want to, felt like I had a lot of musical tools that I could apply to try and make things interesting. You know, I'd studied jazz, and so I had some harmonic options, you know, as a writer. And I don't know, I didn't want to, I wanted to kind of distill the sort of lyrics as the focus. Okay. For me, just to kind of wrap my mind around that part of it. So it's always been kind of lyrics first, and at least just like putting lyrics in a notebook, and then bringing the music in and trying to let the lyrics guide the music. Okay. And so I think my earlier stuff is musically maybe a little simpler or something, and it's gotten a bit more, I feel like I'm exploring more now, and I'm starting to feel like I think I needed to go through a time when I wanted to make sure the music was not getting in the way of the lyrics. Okay. I wanted to just kind of support what's being said with the words, and now I feel like I want to let the music, you know, like I got this sort of, there's been sort of like this urge to take some different turns musically, but I wanted to make sure I had my footing with my own words. Like now I feel a lot more confident about when a line feels good and I'm going to keep it in the song. You know, I used to kind of labor over things, and I was like, I'm not sure I like this is good or not, and I'd have to sing it a bunch, and then I'd throw it away after, you know, I like the song and I didn't, and that still happens, but I feel like I've got a better handle now on just knowing when lyrics feel right. Okay. Like when I'm saying something that I mean, you know, and I'm singing it and it feels good to sing. And so now I don't think that, quote, like interesting musical stuff is gonna like going to be a crutch anymore. And like at this point, I think I'm not going to be able to fool myself.
Okay.
You know? Like before, I think, you know, I could like write some crappy words, but the music is cool, and I might let myself get away with it. Now I'm not as worried about that now.
Okay.
So I've been kind of letting the music grow a little more too. Sort of thing. So now I don't know. Like it used to be lyrics first, and now it's a little bit more twisted up.
Okay.
Like, you know, sometimes I actually recently I started just improvising at the piano and singing at the same time, and recording it, and most of it's crap. Like I'm not going to use hardly any of it.
Yeah.
But there's occasionally, I think I'm getting better at just going, oh, there's a line there and a word, and just the sound and the feeling, like I circle it, you know, and then
like
and
a
then,
scrambled eggs type thing.
Yeah, well, yeah, I just sort of pull out this one piece, you know. Yeah, and then it's like now I feel like I'm collecting little pieces from the garbage.
Okay.
My own garbage that I create.
Whatever makes it through the sifter or something.
Yeah. There's something, there's stuff in there, you know.
Yeah. Well, let's go back. You're from Chicago, is that right?
I'm from a south suburb of Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I called Frankfurt. And then I did live in the city for a few years.
Okay.
In my early 20s. Yeah.
When did the music start? First instrument?
I started playing piano when I was 7, and I've been playing music ever since. Yeah. And the piano was the focus for a long time, and I had it wasn't really formal training. I had a teacher who was pretty loose at that time. And so, you know, I very gradually realized I liked music enough to kind of get serious about it. By the time I was in high school, I knew that I really wanted to aim at it, you know. But before that, I wasn't like I wasn't taking classical piano. I wasn't hitting it really hard. My parents weren't kicking my butt to practice. I was just kind of coming into it on my own, and you know, my teacher would let me make up my own stuff, and I was, you know, writing my own quote compositions, you know.
So you had like a natural affinity for the piano or music in general? I
don't know. I mean, I think that, yeah, in a way, I've always enjoyed the piano it's always been kind of like, I feel like piano for me became kind of like watching TV or something. Like it's a very soothing thing to do.
Okay.
And when you watch TV, you can kind of take a break, you know. You have to deal with any people, any relationships, or, you know, it's like everything, those kinds of stresses just kind of, you can set them aside.
Yeah.
And with piano, that's always been kind of how it's worked for me. Yeah, even now, it's like when I'm playing the piano, it's like, it's kind of like, I don't really watch that much TV. I do, you know, and it feels similar. You know,
so it could be without any. If you're not writing a song, it's like without any intent, other than filling or passing the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is though. I mean, it's not like TV because I mean, it's like TV in a way, in that it's an escape and it's kind of soothing. But I think playing piano is a lot more solitary than watching TV. I mean, watch TV is solitary, but you're engaged. The world is coming at you.
Yeah,
you know, you're engaging with the outside, and all that information is just like filling your head, and you can kind of relax and just let it wash over you. With playing the piano, it's not quite the same. I mean, you're a lot more alone, I think, and so I think the potential to kind of I don't know. It's a bit more engaged of an activity, I guess. It's kind of like meditation or something. Yeah. You know, watching TV and meditating can be similar things.
Who knew?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know.
So what did getting serious about the instrument look like?
Well, I liked to improvise, and I liked to write my own music, and I was getting the kind of feedback as a kid that made me feel like I was good at that stuff, and so that led to me in like my first year in high school. I realized that the teacher I was studying with was he was good. He was good for me, I think, for what I needed. But I wanted to learn how to play more chords. I wanted to learn more about... I knew that my strength was more jazz, improvising, and maybe, writing music in some way. And, and as a pianist, like maybe developing as a pianist in that direction, or, I don't know. When I got to high school, my mom took me to we were told about a jazz teacher who was supposed to be good.
Yeah.
And my mom took me to him, and then he became my teacher, and so I was getting this jazz training, and he was introducing me to some Miles Davis and Bill Evans and John Coltrane and Keith Jarrett, and I was listening to that stuff a lot, and I don't know. So I guess maybe because of that teacher, and then I ended up, I worked really hard in high school to develop that stuff.
Yeah.
And so by the time I got to the end of high school, I was ready to go to college for jazz, and I ended up going to Roosevelt University in Chicago. But I quickly realized that, that I had plenty of developing to do as a jazz musician, but that I'd already kind of established a foundation for kind of going forward on my own, just in my life. I didn't really need to be a jazz major, so, but I didn't really get formal classical training, and so I changed my major to classical piano, and I went to college for that instead.
Okay.
And so I worked really hard on just playing the piano in college.
Because you could do the jazz thing more on the side.
Or maybe it would even be central ultimately, but it would serve. I knew it was going to serve me better to study classical piano in college, because it wasn't going to be as motivated or on my own to do that, and I needed guidance too. Whereas with the jazz stuff, it's a little bit less codified, like jazz. It's like, really, you have to eventually become your own teacher, to find your own voice as a jazz musician. I think classical players find that too, get to a point where they're finding that too. But anyway, I was never going to be a classical pianist. I never thought that I would be, but I still love playing that stuff. I still work on it. But.
So the classical gave you what to your training?
To
your playing?
I think it helped me to play the piano without hurting myself. I was getting like pains in my arms, and I had a lot of tension. I didn't have proper technique, so it was just for that. But also, that music is so rich. The piano repertoire is so vast, and there's so much to absorb. And
does it help with your improvisation?
Yeah, it does, I think. And I'm really connecting with that now, actually. I think at first I was playing classical piano as a technical training, and then, after college I abandoned it altogether, and I was like, no, I'm going to just be a jazz musician, and I've got some technique, and I'm just going to work on jazz now. And then Well, it's been a long time since that. I've started writing songs and singing and stuff, but now I've come back around to playing the classical stuff again. I've been working on it, some of those pieces and some new pieces, some of the old ones I used to do and some new ones too. And I'm starting to get into some composers I never played before. And I'm realizing that this language, like these composers, when I started playing Shostakovich, and I never really played Shostakovich before. And I realized that his language, it was so foreign, so it was hard for me to get my hands and my brain around it. But I've been getting more and more comfortable with it. And now I realize that when I improvise, it's like the muscle memory of his language is in my in my body, in my ears and in my hands, and I really like it. I really like his language, and I feel there's something about it. And so I've been kind of like learning about him, and
that hadn't happened before with the composer?
I hadn't really thought of the composer's language and their, you like musically. I mean, there's been some pieces that I've felt really touched by, but now I'm kind of revisiting, the repertoire and composers, classical composers, and thinking about which ones that I connect with and why, and like Brahms has always been one that I've liked. And so lately I've been pulling out some Brahms stuff, and there's some Brahms pieces that I've always wanted to do, and I was like, someday I'll get around to it. But I finally am now memorizing some of this stuff, and I'm understanding, it's like it's hard to talk about it, but there are things about what he does, with the piano and with chords, with music, with melody, and sometimes, with structure, and there's all kinds of things that I'm just uncovering now that I realize have value I didn't appreciate before,
So when you're in college and you're classically trained, is it just specific composers that they focus on, or how does that work?
Well, yeah, there's like the sort of standard canon of, like Beethoven sonatas and, the Mozart sonata, the Bach well-tempered clavier, and this stuff is great, it's all, there's kind of a standard, it's great stuff.
Yeah.
But I think my attitude about it back then was that it's kind of like a rite of passage to just kind of play everyone has to do it. It's just part of this, it's part of the training,
Yeah.
But now I'm just kind of engaging with this stuff more as music rather than training. I'm just kind of like I don't know, maybe it's because I'm getting older. I'm like turning 40 soon. I'm like feeling like, well, training, like, of course I need more training, but I want to just like get to the music before it gets, it's like, at what point are you just going to like say, I'm an adult and I'm going to, or, whatever. It's like, so yeah, I'm nowhere near ready to like play a lot of this stuff like in a, in front of an audience or something, but I can learn to love it more and grow with it. Yeah.
When you're in college and you're studying the canon, are you encouraged any by professors to explore the other composers?
The lesser played ones? I don't know. No, not really. I think that, the way it felt like I was a jazz piano player, and all the classical teachers, my teacher, and then all the other ones too, and the students all kind of saw me that way. Like, well, he's a jazz guy, and so I'm just, he's going to play the Bach, he's going to play the Beethoven, and then he's going to move on, and he's going to never play that stuff again. And it's kind of how I saw it too. But yeah, I have different attitudes about music now. I don't really think about classical piano as being other than, different, something separate from jazz or jazz. I stopped kind of really like thinking of myself as a jazz musician, but I don't know. I feel like more than ever, I feel like I'm a better jazz musician than I've ever been, in a way. Like I like improvising now a lot more than I did 10 years ago or 5. It's like I feel like I've been getting better. Just, finding my own way into it.
And where did your songwriting come into play? Like during college, after?
After college, after I moved to New York at that time, and it was like 2003, 2004 that I started meeting singer-songwriters in New York and I started playing keyboard with them. And there was this one person who I became very close with, and he was a really talented songwriter, but also a really talented musician. He was a brilliant violinist and improviser too. And so I was inspired by him. I think that I felt like, just that friendship grew, and then we played a lot of music together, and I started singing backup vocals with him. And then, I don't know, I felt kind of encouraged to try, writing some songs, writing some lyrics. And then he ended up sort of singing one of my songs at one of his gigs once. And then he said, "Hey, Matt, we should record an album." And he was into recording too. And so he recorded my first EP. And his name is Roland Satterwhite. He lives in Berlin now. He's been there for 9-10 years or something. Maybe 8 or 9 years now. But anyway, I think he kind of like that friendship was important in terms of me, getting into writing songs and singing.
Had you thought about writing songs before that?
Not really. I mean, well, when I was a kid, I used to like to sing. And I'd play the piano and sing. I liked to sing like I used to try to sing blues, and I liked it. I like to play like boogie woogie piano. Okay. So I was just, and I tried to sing some pop songs too, and I had fun, just messing around when I was a kid doing that. And there were some bands in high school where I sang, but after I decided, well, I'm going to get serious and do music, then I stopped singing. I was just working on jazz piano and then classical piano. And, so then when I met Roland, when I was in New York, then, even then it was like singing and writing songs was just kind of fun. I was like just going to mess around with it. And it very gradually became, clear that was, it was becoming central. It was like whenever I was writing music, I was doing that. And so I just kind of followed it. Yeah.
What'd you like about adding the singing to the instrumental?
Well, there's lyrics, but, the voice too. I think that, it's more immediate. I feel like, it's been a lot easier for me to I think when I'm singing, I know when I'm being honest.
Okay.
I can really hear when it's phony. I feel like
the lyrics or the interpretation?
Everything.
Okay.
Lyrics, the interpretation. Like I feel like my own self-criticism.
Yeah.
Like when I play piano, I think it's been harder for me over the years to tell, am I doing something that's honest, or am I just, trying to be Keith Jarrett or what, it's like, there's something about, piano is it's a little bit removed, you're not actually hearing a sound that the person's making with their body. It's whatever. I don't know. That's just how my feeling about it. But with the singing, I was like, whoa, like that feeling of singing and feeling like I was doing it right, like was so satisfying in a way that I never really experienced with the piano, even though I felt like at times I had, but it was just with that kind of clarity. So I was like, well, this is really valuable, to keep singing and writing words, and then learning other like cover songs and like realizing that I can sing certain ones, that I can't sing others. And just, it's been kind of like something that's been really illuminating, for just like maybe understanding the kind of musician or person that I am, So yeah, so I've continued to sing, and and I feel like that's helped me actually to get better at coming around to like understanding what my voice and the piano is too, and just the singing has been a good sort of guide, just to like, oh, that's what it feels like. Yeah. That's what it feels like when you're doing it right. It feels like that. All right, and then eventually I feel like I've been able to transfer that lens over to other things. I'm playing guitar now, and drums and piano, but I think the singing has been a really good starting point for like just feeling like I know when I'm getting there.
When did that first EP come out?
2005.
Okay. And you're singing. How have you seen it change from 2005 to the new EP? Also, you're playing too, but that's a good span.
Well, I think that at that time, like this current album is called Violence, and that's kind of an aggressive title. Yeah. And I'm not like I was saying before, I'm not an aggressive guy. I'm a pretty, I think I have a gentle way about me, been like that since I was a kid. Anyway, I think my singing and my piano playing and my writing, lyrics, everything, in 2005 on the first EP, I think, went hand in hand with my interface, just generally. And so I think I was just letting my music kind of be an extension of what I give people when I'm talking to them. Oh, there's Matt. He's nice. Oh, his music sounds like a nice guy. He's a nice guy. It's nice. And I
very well branded.
Yeah, it's all very consistent, right? And then the next album I made, I think, was still kind of like that. But then it's been kind of like coming around, over the years. I think it hasn't been so easy for me to change my interface. Yeah. I don't know. That stuff is like, I don't feel like I'm making decisions about how the tone of voice that I use. It just happens. I can't really control it that well. But with music, I think I've been exploring more parts of myself, been understanding that they're there, or just like what they are, getting at them. And I think my singing and my writing and my piano playing has become more dynamic. Like, there's aggressive moments, and I still like the gentle moments too. Yeah. I feel like they have more meaning now for me because there's the other side, I'm letting the shadow through, and so the light and the dark can kind of have more meaning, mutually, hopefully, Yeah. I think it's better that way.
Does it take like a kind of courage to not just interpersonally let that shadow side come out, but also to reveal it in your music?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like...
or were you nervous about letting that out? Or
I get nervous about it because I don't want to hurt anybody's feeling. I don't want to put anyone off. Yeah. I don't want to offend anybody generally. But I've kind of it's funny because I think that my own music has become kind of like I've become kind of I don't know. It's connected for me that the main function is it serves as to help me kind of just explore my own crap, and so I'm not really. I try not to worry too much about what my music is how someone is gonna feel about it. And I try not to, and I think I've gotten pretty good at that now. Like in terms of the writing and stuff. There's a lot of alone time, so it's I'm not even imagining an audience, and I'm just doing it. And performances become I think that's developed too, in a way. You know, that's a little trickier, you know, because you're actually sharing with people and you know, real time. And I think, you know, I think that the performance is delivering what I'm working on. You know, so it's funny. Like, I always think about who's going to be, you know, I teach lessons, and sometimes I teach mostly little kids, you know, piano lessons, and sometimes the parents will bring their kid, the parents will come and they'll bring their kids to one of my shows, you know, and I don't always love that because, I don't really want to have to censor myself at one of my shows. You know, I will though, you know, you know, I still will sometimes, you know, not very, you know, not really just for students. You know? I just, you know, cause I don't know that those relationships, those are kids, you know, I don't really want to, you know, whatever. If you're an adult, you can deal,
you can handle it.
But if there's kids, I'm not going to say certain things. You know, I got certain songs with certain words, certain ideas, and it's whatever. It's not like, you know, the album's called Violence. Sometimes there's a thing or two, you know, it's not like the whole thing is whatever. There's a lot more, there's music out there that's a lot more on the surface of it. It's very aggressive, you know, you know, I think it's more subtle what my stuff is, the aggression at least is. But I still, you know, I'm still careful. Like, if there's a kid in the audience, you know, I won't say something, you know, I'll change the lyric or something, you know. But otherwise, no. I feel like, you know, aside from that, I think I've gotten pretty good at just letting it fly performance. Which, if you know, it feels good when it goes well. You know, if people enjoy it, you know, if I believe that they do enjoy it, then I feel like, oh well, they're enjoying this version of me that involves like more than just being nice. You know, it's like there's other stuff too, and you know, it's like, so that feels good. You know, when I believe that's what's going on.
Does it get tiring being nice?
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah, I mean, you seem like a nice guy.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It does.
Yeah.
Or I guess maybe the perception of it. Like, there's something like my uncle was somebody who would let all that out. Like, he was not someone you would think is mild-mannered. And I would often admire that about him, that
he just let it fly.
Yeah, like if someone said something that rubbed him the wrong way, you would know immediately. While me, it's more like a simmer. Yeah.
I mean, I can tell. You seem like, you know, you have a very gentle kind of interface, and you're you know, at least in the, I don't know you that well, but you're very kind, you know, on the surface, and it's not easy to, I mean, it's like, I don't know. In a way, it's easy. But there's a lot of guilt. There's a lot of noise. It looks. There's a lot more going on underneath it than what it seems. Yeah.
But you know what you have on your side? Like, if you ever need to, say, put somebody in their place, it's so unexpected that I think it's even more shocking.
What's that?
When you like I had a boss and I had to like say something to her, and because of my natural demeanor when I spoke to her, and like I'm speaking to her like I'm speaking to you now, it was like I threw her up against the wall. Like, it was so unexpected that you kind of get like this pass when you're nice. I don't know.
Wait, I want to know. So you're saying that
I had a boss and she was like, you know, completely evil and everything. And because I'm my demeanor, she probably thought, oh, I can get away with that. And then when I finally said something to her, like, you know, well, that's unacceptable. Okay. She was so shocked coming from a nice person.
Got it. Yeah, because she was used to you being a certain way. So it had all this, like, when you finally, like, put up some kind of, like, establish a boundary or something. She could tell you meant it. Yeah. You're not going to just say that. You're not the kind of person who just goes around saying that. So it's like, you better listen.
You're not the blow up. Yeah, when you're not the blow up kind of person. I had a cop for it, and he once said it's the quiet ones you have to watch.
Yeah. I think it's true. I think it is. There's a lot of pressure that can build. So
answering the question myself, I would say yes, it tiring at times being nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I admire the people who could just like, it's right there and like they can just have access to it immediately.
Yeah, I envy that.
Yeah.
I envy it, especially when they can do it and I still like them.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's people that are like that. I'm like, oh, that asshole.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't want to be those guys.
Yeah.
So I'm walking around not wanting to be that guy.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's people out there who really like, you know, they lay it down, and I respect them, and I feel like, I don't feel like that's an asshole,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's, you know, not really sure. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm aiming for.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I need, you know, I want to, you know, be honest. You know.
Well, that's our goal for the rest of 2016.
Yeah. All right.
We'll be like accountability. I can't even say it. Accountability
yeah.
buddies. Okay.
Right.
You'll just get like a random text from me, Matt. I need to be more of a jerk
All
to
right.
somebody.
Yeah. Okay.
And you'll be like, you do it.
We can help each other that way. That could be good.
Yeah. So for the Violence EP,
Yeah.
these songs, were they like, how many songs did you write? Like a bunch of songs and whittle it down to this? Or they just worked well together?
Yeah, you know what? I've written a lot more songs in that period of time than what ended up on there. But those songs, you know what really pulled it together was that those are the ones that I made videos for.
Okay.
You know, I was like, oh, of the stuff that I've made videos for, I've got like this album. And I think and I feel like there must have been some reason why I made videos for those things.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't even remember why I decided to make videos for those things. So I'm looking back on it, I'm like, well, I've written all these things, but I only made videos for these little things. I made videos for this random live performance that's an improvised thing. And I'm like, it's not even about songs, you know, it's just like, so the videos kind of pull it together. And then I edited together like a long, you know, they had these little pieces, and then I edited into a longer thing with transitional material. And I feel like the movie has kind of a story to it. To me, it isn't just like music videos for the album.
Yeah.
And the album isn't really like a soundtrack for the movie. I feel like they're kind of companions because they're kind of, you know, obviously a lot of overlap, but there's actually some music on the album that's not on the film at all. The last track on the album is very long, and I don't know if you got through that.
Yes.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yes,
well,
I enjoyed the whole album.
That's admirable, because I don't necessarily expect everybody to get to the end of that track. It's like 25 minutes long or something. You know, but
they should.
Yeah, right. Yeah. In a way, it's a little aggressive, right? It's like, here, listen to this thing.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, right? You know. But it's the last track in the album. There's not a video for it, so in a way it stands out. Plus, it's the title track. That track is called Violence, so it's sort of calling attention to it. You know, it's like, well, you know, there's some reason to check that out, maybe if you can deal. Yeah. Anyway, so it's kind of a messy project, and I kind of like that it's messy. I don't know if that's good for promoting it. I haven't really even like promoted it. Yeah. I appreciate that you wanted to interview me.
Sure.
But I made it, you know, and it's on my website. You know, I made a page for it. There's like the video. You know, you can watch the movie, you can hear the album. It's all in one place. Like it all belongs together.
Yeah. So this is kind of what your lemonade.
What's that?
This is your lemonade, Matt.
My lemonade, yeah. Oh, yeah, right. There is a precedent for this, right? Yeah, I didn't really push it the same way that she pushed that. Yeah, I haven't really.
You released it like in the middle of the night or something like
that. Yeah.
And just let the internet do the rest.
Have you watched that, The Lemonade?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Like when it came out.
I have to check it out. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a big Beyonce fan, to be honest, but I'll check it out.
Yes. If you're gonna release a visual album, I think you should.
Yeah, I should. You're right. It's like it is like, what is it?
It's like, all the songs, but like it's more thematic as opposed to when she did with the previous self-titled album, where it's more like just a bunch of videos, all the videos for every song.
Yeah,
this has more of a story to it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's like a proper like film.
Yeah,
watch it through. Okay, right. Okay.
Yeah,
yeah. Same thing.
Yes,
same
exactly.
Thing? Yeah.
Cool. Where can people keep up to date, find out about the album, video, online?
Well, my name.com, mattkanelos.com is the best place to find out what I'm doing, I think.
You should spell that.
MATTKANELOS.
.com.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, thank you.
This was wonderful.
Thank you.
Is it in you to love a nonviolent man? Domesticated, gonna fall right where I stand. The full moon is pulling the water off the land. Is it in you to love a nonviolent man? Time is broken, the killer is now a child, and the animal protects you in the wild. The chapel doors are open. Will you take my broken hand? Is it in you to love a nonviolent man? You don't even have to hold me. You don't even have to smile. I just want you to watch me die. Will you stay here for Is it in you to love a nonviolent man? Domesticated, gonna fall right where I stand. No need to worry if it's chaos or if it's planned. Is it in you to love a nonviolent man? I know how it feels to be totally sane. I know how it feels to be totally sane. A camera with an eye and a mechanical brain. A fortune teller and an origami crane. I know how it feels to be totally sane. I know how it feels to be totally, totally sane. My baby in the ground, my baby in a frame. My baby in the dark, my baby in a flame. And you and I are different, and you and I are the same. God is a guy with a pronounceable name. I know how it feels to be totally sane. I know how it feels to be totally sane.
And there you have it, too, from today's guest, Matt Kanelos, and his Violence EP, God is a Guy, and before that, Nonviolent Man. Violence, the EP, is available wherever you like to get your digital music. For more info on the EP and the short film, again, his website is mattkanelos.com, mattkanelos.com. As for me, you can find me online at talkmusictalk.com for more information on this very podcast. And if you are on Instagram, or maybe you just need a reason to be on Instagram, sign up now. Follow me there at This Is Boyce. Boyce is spelled B-O-I-C-E. Call to action. Yes, a call to action for you this week. Don't forget to download the Talk Music Talk app wherever you get your apps for iPhone and Android. Did not leave out Android. Your assignment actually is to leave a rating and or review in the store, because when you do that, it spikes up the podcast and more people hear about it. And may I make a suggestion for your very first back catalog episode? Carol Lipnik with Matt performing episode number 45. It includes a special TMT mini set of Carol doing her magical music. That's right, episode number 45. Carol Lipnik and Matt. Check it out. Thank you so much for listening. Till next time, and there will be a next time. This one's for you, Liz.